Hello, I'm Dimiake Mokaliele. This is Africa 54. Vincent Makori is on assignment. Well, tonight we begin in Cairo, where the trial of ousted Egyptian leader Mohamed Morsi on Monday was over almost as soon as it began. The proceeding was adjourned just minutes into the first session after Morsi began chanting in protest. Egyptian state television aired pictures without sound of his arrival at court, wearing a suit, stepping out of a white van. The video also showed him inside, behind bars, shouting, and while some of the other defendants in his trial, dressed in white, made a hand gesture signifying solidarity with the Muslim Brotherhood. Morsi, who was toppled by the army in July, appeared angry and interrupted the session repeatedly, prompting the judge to eventually halt the trial until January 8th. The start of the trial was initially delayed because Morsi rejected wearing the traditional white jumpsuit of defendants. United States Secretary of State John Kerry was in Cairo on Sunday, meeting with Egyptian civilian and military leaders. It's the highest-ranking U.S. visit to Cairo since Mohamed Morsi was toppled as president. As VOA State Department correspondent Scott Stearns reports, Secretary Kerry called for transparent justice in the prosecution of the former president.
Kerry says it's no secret that Egypt is going through difficult times following July's military-backed takeover, but he told officials here that President Obama is confident Egyptians will overcome those challenges.
The United States believes that the U.S.-Egypt partnership is going to be strongest when Egypt is represented by an inclusive, democratically elected civilian government based on rule of law, fundamental freedoms, and an open and competitive economy.
The visit came a day before the scheduled start of Mr. Morsi's trial, and Kerry said it's important that all Egyptians receive due process and fair and transparent justice. In response to violence that followed the coup that toppled Mr. Morsi, the United States delayed the delivery of some major weapons systems. But Washington is continuing most of its military aid, taking a middle path that American University professor Akbar Ahmed says satisfies no one.
Both sides are going to be critical. Both sides are going to say it is not enough. You have to choose.
Mr. Morsi's supporters in the Muslim Brotherhood believe the United States is choosing Egypt's military over its young democracy, says Cato Institute analyst Doug Bandow.
There are lots of reasons not to like the Muslim Brotherhood, but it's a diverse organization, it's a complicated organization, it's a multinational organization. And the fact they've come into the democratic process was a positive thing.
Bandow says driving the Muslim Brotherhood back underground further radicalizes the group.
We risk destroying the kind of semi-moderate leadership, whatever is out there, and having a much younger and more radical leadership rise up.
How the United States manages political expectations in Egypt and across North Africa will ultimately help determine the legacy of the Arab Spring uprisings and the young people who joined them, says U.S. Institute of Peace analyst Manal Omar.
For a long time, they believed only violence was the way of being heard, but now there was another way. There was the ballot box. There was a way to go through the system. And it created a huge paradigm shift in the minds of the youth. And my concern with what's happening in Egypt is we're sending the message that you actually tricked. That isn't a way to be heard. It really is only violence.
Kerry says progress toward a democratic transition is linked to Egypt's overall economic success. And the United States believes that the military-backed transitional government has so far shown that it's determined to return the country to civilian rule. Scott Stearns, VOA News, Cairo.